It's all covered in today's China Truths.
China's megaports lie abandoned, buried under endless mountains of idle containers. China's top ports have fallen eerily silent. Once bustling harbors now resemble ghost towns. Towering stacks of empty containers line the docks like abandoned monuments. Cargo ships rust in place, unmoving. Trans-Pacific shipping routes have ground to a halt, crippled by President Trump's harsh tariff measures. According to the latest data from Line Reteca, a shipping intelligence platform, China's export volume has collapsed by 50%. In just 1 month, shipments to the U.S. were slashed in half. The scale of disruption is staggering. 80 outbound voyages from China have been abruptly canceled. Footage from the ground paints a chilling picture. China's ports, including the likes of Ningbo, Yangshan, and Yantian, are now cemeteries of steel. Cranes remain frozen, and not a single ship sails in or out. An on-site port worker filmed the grim scene. "Let me show you the reality of China's foreign trade. All the cranes are raised, no ship in sight." The emptiness is so widespread that containers are now backed up all the way to inland storage sites like Taikang. At Yantian Port, stacks have reached 7 levels, the maximum safety height for empty containers, drawing alarm and viral attention. Despite official silence, the numbers don't lie. A mid-April 2025 report by logistics firm Vision revealed that bookings for 20-foot containers on China-US routes plunged by 45% year-over-year. The Wall Street Journal confirmed shipping giants are downsizing vessels, from megaships carrying 18,000 TEUs to mid-size ships with 14,500 TEUs. The message is clear. Demand has collapsed and the entire Trans-Pacific route is at a standstill. The fallout extends far beyond the ports. With cargo volumes shrinking, businesses are reeling. In provinces like Jiangsu and Hunan, factories are halting recruitment. Even temporary workers are being turned away. A viral list of the top 10 electronics manufacturers suspending hiring includes BYD, Chuangzhou, and Lingyin. At a toy factory in Yiwu, over 300 packed containers sit gathering dust while freight forwarders advise against shipping. One furniture exporter had goods ready to go, only for the customer to vanish. Calls ignored, emails unanswered. Later, the company discovered the order had moved to Vietnam. Foreign trade businesses are now offloading inventory in desperation. TikTok-like platforms such as Douyin and Shopee are flooded with live streams selling products originally meant for Europe and the US. Household appliances, daily goods, at rock-bottom prices, 1 yuan per jin, or roughly 27 cents per kilogram. It's so cheap it's practically a giveaway, but firms are willing to sell at a loss to free up warehouse space and recover funds. Even the global shipping titans are pulling back. Maersk, Hapag-Lloyd, CMA CGM, and Costco are reducing sailings or ditching China-US routes altogether. Some vessels are departing ports with empty holds just to maintain the illusion of normalcy. Meanwhile, freight rates have plunged from $8,000 to just $3,500 for a 40-foot container from Shanghai to Los Angeles, and still, no buyers. The global supply chain is drifting away from China. Vietnam, Mexico, and Thailand are rapidly taking its place. Port of Los Angeles Executive Director Gene Soroka reported that container volume this week dropped 30.4% from last week. Some May sailings have been canceled entirely. If the trade war drags on, he warned, cargo could fall another 35% in June, plunging the port into an unprecedented crisis. This isn't a downturn. It's a seismic shift, and for China's once booming foreign trade industry, it may already be too late. China's steel industry is collapsing. Countries globally turn their backs. 150,000 Chinese jobs lost.
It's all covered in today's China Truths.
The once mighty Chinese steel industry is now crashing headfirst into a global wall of tariffs and distrust. From overproduction and dumping to low-quality products, Chinese steel has triggered a massive backlash, and the consequences are now spiraling out of control. More than 150,000 workers have already lost their jobs, and hundreds of steel companies have gone bankrupt. Just this morning, a customer who planned to order 100 steel plates suddenly canceled. The reason? Even Vietnam and South Korea, once friendly trade partners, are now slapping punitive tariffs on Chinese steel. This is no longer a trade dispute. It's a global steel blockade. In the past, Chinese steel dominated the world. Today, it's being shut out by over 20 countries across Asia, Europe, the Americas. In the U.S., new tariffs of up to 145% have devastated China's entire export supply chain. And unlike before, there's no backdoor. Countries like Vietnam and Thailand now enforce strict origin tracking, making it nearly impossible to rebrand Chinese steel. Exports are plummeting. Vietnam imposed up to 28% tariffs on Chinese hot-rolled coil. South Korea added 38% anti-dumping tariffs on shipbuilding and construction steel. The EU followed quickly, with tariffs as high as 62.6%. In the US, steel that isn't fully melted and cast in North America is rejected outright. China's steel exports to the US have dropped to nearly zero. The crisis officially exploded in early 2024. Out of 2011 domestic steel companies, 75 shut down, with 115 blast furnaces idled. Major players like Dongling Group and Jiangdalong Nickel filed for bankruptcy, leaving tens of thousands unemployed. In some provinces, steel prices fell to just 2,900 yuan per ton, a 6-year low. Dozens of companies have halted production under the guise of maintenance because they can no longer survive. By mid-2024, China had a steel surplus of 400 million tons, more than the combined annual output of the world's second to 10th largest producers. That's enough steel to build 300,000 towers or circle the Earth with railway tracks 90 times. But here's the most shocking part. Despite producing over 1 billion tons of steel a year worth 8.7 trillion yuan, China's entire industry earns only 29.1 billion yuan in profit. That's less than 30 yuan profit per ton, not even enough to buy a pack of cigarettes. The profit margin? Just 0.33%, a fraction of the global average. The 2-year crisis has revealed a brutal truth. Overcapacity kills. China flooded the world with cheap steel, and now the world is slamming the door shut. The golden age of Chinese steel is over, and the cold winter? It's just beginning. Dongguan, known as the world's factory with over 14,000 export enterprises, is being devastated by tariffs. When these factories can't ship goods, upstream and downstream orders collapse. One Taiwanese factory extended its one-day holiday to 5 days due to lack of work. To survive, export-oriented businesses are forced into domestic sales, flooding the market and crushing smaller factories. The 3 pillar industries, electronics, textiles, and machinery, are hit hardest. Before, electronics factories were crippled by a 25% tariff. A factory with 10,000 employees making Apple headphones now has empty dorms and slashed profits. Furniture and textile factories are cutting prices just to survive, but no one is buying. Machinery firms face a 30% surge in procurement costs due to reliance on U.S. technology. Factories are either raising prices or bleeding losses. Tariffs have wiped out profits and cut Dongguan's orders by nearly 70%. Factory owners are overwhelmed by debt and sleepless with worry. 80% now have destroyed credit. One mold factory went bankrupt, and the boss disappeared without paying wages. Employees are left abandoned. As one worker said, "If your company hasn't paid in 2 months, run. Don't go down with the boss." Nearly half of the factories in Dongguan have closed following the U.S. tariff decision. Is there no work to do, or are they just staying in their hometowns? Look at Dongguan, the former industrial capital. Now the streets are empty. There are not many people, including for recruitment. In the past, there were queues and crowds of people every time the recruitment season came. Now there are only a few people. There are no applicants. Where did they go? As of April 11, 2025, Trump's second term has imposed tariffs on Chinese goods totaling 125%. The impact of high tariffs on China is immediate. A large number of videos circulating online show that Chinese private enterprises and bosses are wailing. The trade war has really begun, and it has hit our manufacturing bosses in the chest. We have also witnessed the history of this tariff. From the beginning, it rose by 34%, then to 104%, and now it has directly risen to 145%. What does this mean to us? First, the volatility of raw materials is very large. Second, foreign trade orders are directly cut in half, especially for those bosses who do American lines. Where should they go? Third, the stock market exploded in succession, and all sectors were in the red. Investors were really miserable, but the real horror was that these small and medium-sized enterprises with tight capital flow might not last more than 3 months and would really go bankrupt. The United States increased taxes, Europe increased taxes, Japan and South Korea increased taxes, and even Vietnam increased taxes. Brothers, the U.S. beef was just taxed by us and then it was hit back. Can we withstand this global siege? Friends who do foreign trade know how difficult it is to handle foreign trade this year. The United States has imposed this 34% tax, and many companies can't bear it. With a tariff of 145%, how can the bosses of Yiwu who do foreign trade survive? The business in the market has been very bleak in the past 2 or 3 years. This year's exports to the United States are estimated to be 50% less. In the end, we can only look at the European market and the Southeast Asian market of the Belt and Road Initiative. On April 9th, an employee in Jiangsu province shared a video online showing an empty workshop, saying that the factory had stopped working and was on holiday. She had to wait for notice on when to resume work, and she was forced to find temporary work. Hello friends, after the tariff policy came out, some companies have directly taken a 2-month holiday and have no orders. Those who understand know that this time the situation is very, very bad, and the situation is very, very serious. Now the workshop is full of foreign goods, and it is not known whether they can be shipped out or whether the other party wants them. Now the situation is like this. The factory has stopped working and producing. Hundreds of people have been disbanded on the spot, and all U.S. orders have stopped today. As soon as the tariff war started, the company's U.S. orders were all canceled overnight. The company went on holiday. Look, there is no one. I am a real furniture foreign trade factory for the U.S. market. Many people say to hold on, but a foreign trade factory that makes furniture has received orders from customers to suspend orders and will not ship. The factory has no orders. What should the employees do? How to hold on to the expenses? Then what will happen if it continues? Then the goods that are shipped are about to reach the U.S. port at sea. What can I do? Let me show you. This product is for export. Due to yesterday's tariffs, all orders have been stalled. All shipments have been suspended. So many goods are stuck here. In this tariff trade war, small and medium-sized enterprises like us are the first to bear the brunt. The U.S. has increased its tariffs on China to 125%. My God, it seems that the wages of our factory workers have to be reduced again. The current economic environment is so bad. Many people say, will it affect my 3,000 CNY salary? It will definitely affect it. You know, because I can't get money, right? You must reduce wages. What should I do? I can't afford to lose money. You can continue to call me a black-hearted capitalist. 70% of bosses in Ningbo are operating in debt. I have been working in Ningbo for 11 years in corporate loan services. I have never seen a boss who is worse off than his employees. Orders have shrunk by half and there is no profit left. The triangular debts are getting bigger and bigger. The bank loans may not be repaid in this lifetime. Many bosses in Ningbo go to courts and banks the most. When they go to court, they are either defendants or plaintiffs. When they go to banks, they beg for loans in a humble manner. 70% of bosses have a thicker credit record than the Xinhua dictionary. Even if the gods come, they can't save them. Some bosses rely on mortgaging houses, cars, and factories to keep their factories alive. Some bosses rely on borrowing private funds to pay their employees, and more bosses can't borrow a dime. Some netizens said that the biggest victims of the U.S. tariff stick this time are actually the pockets of ordinary people. There is no winner in the tariff war, but ordinary people are the most hurt. The U.S. and China are now in a trade war. Gold and stocks have collapsed. Tesla and BYD factories have closed. Now companies that export electronics have begun to reduce their staff. That means that many people will have to find jobs again in the second half of the year. Those who are still waiting for a good job at home after the Chinese New Year should not come out. Plant some soybeans and raise a few cows at home in the second half of the year because China has stopped importing these. The U.S. tariff stick is back, but this time it hits our wallets harder than Huawei or BYD. Prices are rising. Electric cars up by 3,000 yuan, iPhones by 500 yuan, and Tesla has paused its expansion. According to the Ministry of Finance, tariffs will increase household spending by 1,800 yuan annually. 3 major ripple effects follow. Export companies lay off workers. Factories in the Yangtze Delta cut hours. Prices spiral upward, especially for EVs and solar products, and the job market shrinks, with foreign trade jobs dropping by 23%. A toy factory owner in Dongguan said U.S. orders halved, and his 200-person team now works only 3 days a week. In this tariff war, there are no winners, only ordinary people lose. The first wave of casualties includes catering businesses. Popular BBQ buffets are closing down, especially those relying on cheap imported meats like pork, beef, and lamb. Rising ingredient costs have hurt performance. On the upside, chicken, duck, goose, and local aquatic food businesses are unaffected and may even benefit as consumers shift preferences. Now, enterprises in Jiangsu, Zhejiang, and Shanghai have begun to appear. Large areas of stranded people have already seen a tide of people returning home. There may be more people returning home than leaving. If you don't believe it, go to the train station and see that there are many people carrying bags, but they don't know where to go. Those who work in labor know that at present, enterprises in Jiangsu, Zhejiang, and Shanghai are almost full and have no shortage of people, so they either go back to their hometowns, live in train stations, sleep in parks, or choose to lie flat. Now there are basically no enterprises to enter. If you really have pressure and want to go out to work, then you must think carefully and be able to accept a bad job. Scholar Mr. Kai told RFA that the CCP's internal circulation economy is failing. With the U.S. market lost, external circulation is also in trouble. As China pushes the U.S. trade war into extreme confrontation, Chinese factory workers, e-commerce sellers, and SMEs are bearing the brunt.
Many banks in China set limits on fund transfers. In recent years, China's economy has been on a downward trend, and the banking industry has been severely impacted by the real estate crisis. Recently, many bank branches in China have faced issues with withdrawals, causing dissatisfaction among account holders. Many users believe that the reduction in bank card transfer limits is a deliberate attempt by banks to restrict funds from flowing out. According to a report by Beek Finance from the Beijing News, several bank card users have reported that their cards were limited without their knowledge. Many of these users tried to raise their transfer limits by visiting bank branches, but some simply gave up using the card altogether. Since the second half of this year, many banks have announced adjustments to the transfer limits for non-counter transactions on personal current accounts. These users mention banks like Bank of China, China Construction Bank, Agricultural Bank of China, and Jiangxi Bank among the institutions having done so. Regarding the reduction in bank card transfer limits, many users believe this is an intentional attempt by the banks to prevent funds from leaving their system. However, bank personnel have explained that this measure is mainly aimed at preventing telegraphic transfer fraud. Nevertheless, bank card users have expressed frustration, saying they were unaware of the limit changes. The bank did not send an SMS notification, has been a common complaint. One user, Liyun, a pseudonym used for her security and safety, said she was shocked when her bank account for receiving salaries suddenly had a transfer limit imposed. In July of this year, she planned to withdraw a reimbursement amount of about several thousand yuan from Bank of China, but she was unable to either transfer the money or withdraw it from an ATM, as it exceeded the daily transfer limit. What surprised Liyun even more was that another account she used to pay her mortgage, a Jiangxi Bank Class 1 card, was also limited in July and August. She had used both cards for many years for small purchases, and neither card had ever had withdrawal or transfer limits set. Both banks unilaterally adjusted the mobile transfer limits on her cards to a daily cap of 2,000 yuan or $276 without notifying her. Liyun explained, Bank of China staff originally told me I could go to any branch with my ID card to adjust the limit, but when I arrived at a nearby branch, I was told I needed to go to the branch where the account was opened. She faced further complications as the account opening branch was closed that day, and it took a month for her to successfully raise the limit. According to a report by Shanghai Broadcasting Television Station on November 14, some bank card users have said their transfer limits were reduced without their knowledge, with some even unable to transfer as little as 1,000 yuan or about $138. These customers believe that the banks are limiting non-counter transactions to prevent money from flowing out. In January of this year, Jiupai News reported that a woman in Pingdingshan, Hunan Province, had difficulty withdrawing money from a bank when her sister tried to transfer 5,000 yuan to her as a New Year gift. The staff initially suggested downloading an anti-fraud app, which seemed responsible, but later began asking inappropriate questions about her sister's workplace, previous jobs, and even demanded proof that they were sisters. Eventually, only after about 2 hours and police intervention, she was able to withdraw the money. In a similar incident, according to Poster News, a woman in Jiangxi province posted on a social platform, saying that when she went to the bank to deposit 100,000 yuan into a time deposit, the staff asked where the money had come from. She was surprised, saying, "Why does it matter where the money came from? Just process it as I said." She felt as though they were treating her as if the money had been stolen. The staff explained that it was the bank's policy. In response to these issues, some netizens commented, "The banking system really needs to be properly reformed. The service attitude is extremely inconsistent. When you deposit money, you're treated like a VIP, but when you withdraw, you're treated like a beggar." The leakage of personal information can't be said to have nothing to do with them, because the information we leave with the bank is quite accurate, and the moral standards of employees should really be better assessed. Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. We will keep reporting on the COVID surge in China, so don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell to get the latest videos. And thank you for tuning in.